We're gonna punch a bird!
Go punch him in the face. And you know what we're gonna do it for? You know what we're gonna do it for? We're gonna do it in celebration of Transgender Visibility Day.
That's right. We're gonna punch him so hard, all he's gonna be able to see is trans people.
I think you and I both just did. If we were sitting in the theater, you say that, and then we both just leaned back and collectively had like a thought bubble of what that would be like. He gets punched so hard, and all of a sudden, like, he blinks a couple times, look around, there's people everywhere. He's like, what?
April Fools, all the shows are voiced by Guffering.
Alaman haking manages! Ili Chusu! Ili Doha Tarekaze!
Hadar said Omen!
Ashkar Behek!
We just immediately turned into the fucking pterodactyl from Star Fox Adventures.
Look, dude, we will always and forever go back to Iwaki Stubert as Krazoa's palace! Oopity doopity general scales.
Oh, fuck. Tashkov Saduk.
Oopity doobers Tamus Aran. So now that I've slowly started chipping away, now that I've crossed over 300 things for the potential shirt list, I really should just sit down and actually crank out the oopity doopity general scale shirt.
Yes, 100%.
Oh my god.
You gotta
And the way
your vowels across your vocal cords like chunks of road salt on piano strings.
You know what I'm gonna do in order to avoid quote unquote copyright? I'm gonna draw general scales, but I'm gonna draw them like Barney the dinosaur.
Oh my god.
Oopity doopity, my name is General Scales.
I hate this. I hate this so much. Okay. Come on, we gotta get in there and we gotta punch a bird.
All right, Dread. All right.
Yeah, well, we're gonna play some Metroid Dread. We're gonna punch a bird.
All right. So, what are we starting off with?
Well, we're gonna start off with a little bit of cleanup, because we got some time. We got some time to run around and get things. No sounds? Oh, hang on.
God dang it.
There we go. Now we got sounds.
It would seem we cannot hear the game.
Now they can.
Samus doesn't need an arm cannon, she needs punch!
I mean, sure. Now, what
you know what I need now?
What?
I need just the visual and auditory aspect. You ever had like a really long cardboard tube and you tap the top end of it and it goes like boom?
Yes.
That's the sound that happens anytime Samus punches something with her arm cannon.
Boom.
Boom. Ah! Anyway, what were we saying?
I was gonna say we're just gonna do a little bit of cleanup for a little bit before we jump into the final boss, just because we got time.
We got time. You know, run around, do cleanup, do some general maintenance of this planet, which is SR388, or am I thinking of something else?
ZDR.
Where are we? This is ZDR.
We're on ZDR. SR388 is where Metroid 2 took place. It's blown up now.
Oh, and that's just fresh in my mind because that's what we started off the month with.
Yes.
Hi, Nessa. Arm cannon gets some reverb in it when it punches. everything we needed to.
And while we're doing cleanup, we might as well talk about so many interesting things that happened. Like, oh my god, Metroid Prime Beyond got a new trailer!
We got a new trailer. I want to pick your brain about it.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, first of all, like, Samus got psycho powers now. That's cool.
Psycho Metroid.
Psycho Metroid. And I was sick a little bit last week. While I was sick, I was replaying another Metroid game. Would you like to know who else had a third eye?
The Dalai Lama.
Besides them.
Well, not off the top of my head, I don't.
The game I replayed was Metroid Prime 2. And
okay.
At the end of that game, you fight Dark Samus for the third and definitely final time.
Oh!
And you can see Dark Samus's skeleton. And Dark Samus has 3 eyes. Technically 4 eyes, because Dark Samus also has an eye on their wrist, and it's weird and gross. But yeah, Dark Samus has a third eye in the middle of her forehead at the end of that game.
Oh. Interesting.
And it's basically in exactly the same spot Samus's third eye gem from the Beyond trailer is. Now, does that mean Dark Samus is coming back? I mean, the game Metroid Prime is named after Dark Samus because Dark Samus is the Metroid Prime. Probably not. I'm pretty sure the Metroid Prime is super dead. But
she slurped it.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe the Metroid Prime isn't super dead and it's gonna come back. Dark Samus is gonna come back. Probably not. I just thought it was interesting. But I feel like the use of psychic abilities for Samus is... It could be like in Gotham Knight and Samus is slowly turning into Dark Samus. They already did that in Metroid Prime 3, Red. Also, I think you mean Arkham Knight. Gotham Knights is a different game than the one you're thinking of.
But now she's not Phazon.
Yep. But I feel like psychic abilities suit Samus pretty well, considering the Chozo, you know, in Metroid Prime 1, they ascended to, like, the next plane of existence or some shit like that. It makes sense that they would have psychic powers. I mean, the Thoha, it's kind of implied that's how they were able to control Metroid, sort of, through, like, psychic ability.
Yeah, like, based off of what things that we've seen throughout the course of doing these March of Metroid, it... Specifically, the way that they either made it sound like the Thoha tribe specifically either had the ability to control them, or like something about them genetically meant that the Metroids like didn't have some sort, like they either could not interact with them, or they just genetically were like immune.
Yeah.
Which means that the Metroid didn't react or like interact with them at all. Comparatively to anything else, it's just like, oh look, a living thing.
Yeah.
Gotta get on that.
I gotta eat that.
I gotta get out there.
It seems like basically the new visor sort of kind of thing, like just an expansion on how the scan visor works. It's just now you can interact with like psychic things, and it's going to be used for like some light puzzle solving, which I'm alright with. The Prime games have some fun puzzle solving elements. I'm glad to see that continue.
Yeah, I do like that when Samus is scanning stuff now based off of the stuff we see in the actual the trailer that we just recently got.
Yeah.
She holds 2 fingers up to her temple, and she just goes full Professor Xavier on shit.
She does. It's very funny. Maybe that's gonna be one of the new. Maybe that's gonna be one of the new upgrades. Is we're gonna get Cerebro.
I mean, and she's also got the eye in the middle of the forehead as well. Like, she could pull some vision shit. She could just, like, shoot lasers from her forehead.
Oh my god.
Blows up Federation with mind!
I also like the idea of using her psychic powers to manipulate the beam. That's very cool. And I can't wait to see what else they do with that. Speed booster blocks. Yeah, what the hell?
It is. And then also, on top of the fact that we get a new modified Varia suit with the third eye and all that jazz, let's talk about also the sneak peek we saw at the end of the trailer.
Oh yeah, the new suit. It looks so cool.
I'm not biased at all. Not even remotely.
What are you talking about?
I like it because it's structured well.
That's what a lot of people say about Samus.
She's built differently. But yeah, so that is a. What's your prediction on what that suit is?
It's definitely. That's a good question, because like I can't really think. Because usually when you get a new suit upgrade, it's to protect you from like a certain environment. Like It's an environment upgrade. Like the Varia suit, it's an upgrade that allows you to enter hot zones. The gravity suit, it's an upgrade that allows you to explore like water places and whatnot. Oh, I messed that up. Sorry. The dark suit in Metroid Prime 2, it let you explore the dark world a little bit easier. So, like, that's usually the direction suit upgrades go. So, I'm mainly curious about, like, what does the suit protect you from? Like, what are we gonna... Because it's not gonna be, like, hot zones, because that's what the Varia suit does, and, like, Samus already has the Varia suit, because she's got the big honking shoulders. Yeah. So, yeah, that's just... Iblis. Wait a second, what?
Not Iblis! Duh.
Mercury's team loves their annoying-ass speed booster puzzles. This is literally the first game they've made with speed booster puzzles. Hang on. Hang about.
They love them.
Yeah. They love them so much.
Abundant. Protects the mind from mind virus.
Huh. The speed booster was not.
Was
in
it not in
Returns.
Samus Returns?
No.
Damn.
Because the screen was too
small.
small.
Am I crazy? You crazy. So, yeah, I guess, has there ever been... Well, okay, so we have to ask specific... when it comes to the Prime series...
Yes.
How often does the same rule apply when the new suits are acquired? Thinking about it, like going from the first instance all the way up to now what is going to be Prime 4.
So, basically, every time except in 3 when you get the Phase-On Enhancement device. Because the Phase-On Enhancement device unlocks... Like, you get it like right at the start of the game, so it's not even really like a defensive upgrade. But it's what allows you to use like hyper mode and all that stuff. So what I'm thinking is that the new suit will probably coincide with like a new ability. Not just like being able to use psychic powers generally, but like you will get a specific psychic ability. What that psychic ability specifically is, you know, we don't know yet.
Yeah, they refer to it as just psychic abilities, like all-encompassing. It's a quite large netted blanket term that they've chosen for that one.
And like so far what we've seen with it is sort of like a comeback of the tracing puzzles from Metroid Prime 3. Like she like traces a line on the wall like towards the end of the trailer. She also uses it to like manipulate something in the environment to move things. So okay. I thought about this like at the exact same time Red said Chaos Control. I'm guessing maybe the new suit might unlock some sort of time dilation ability.
That would make sense for two reasons. In the actual trailer itself, the narrator specifically says that this is a story which, like, events transcend space and time. Like,
That could be a hint of something.
There might be like some time travel. Are we about to get blinks? Are we gonna get rewind powers?
I don't know, and allow me to use this as a segue to focus on one element from the trailer that does give me slight pause. There's a part of me that is not necessarily worried, but I'm fixating on one element really particularly, and I've talked to a few people about this already. Whatever the name of the new alien race that we are going to see in this series, in this new entry, they referred to Samus twice in the trailer as Chosen One.
Yeah.
Listen. If this is just a means of showcasing that she was the chosen one who was chosen to have these abilities, then okay. I am a smidge worried, just a smidge worried, that there might be some prophecy narrative going on here.
Yeah.
And I am always worried about that. Because, like,
understand.
agency, I kind of like it when it's not, like...
I was also thinking about that, like, a little bit today. I was like, I don't know how serious this Chosen One thing is. But at the same time, now that I've said, like, oh, maybe there's time travel, I think an interesting way to, like, loop around with it, and you're probably thinking the same thing, is, like, Samus travels back in time and basically makes herself the Chosen One that way. If that makes any
like
goddamn
she goes,
sense at all.
No. It makes perfect sense. It is... Effectively, you're pulling a Back to the Future-esque situation. Like, goes back in time, gets introduced to the culture that would go on to name them as, Chosen One because of their interactions in the past. Like, totally doable. That's fine. Like, again, it's going to be interesting to see how exactly that sort of thing can kind of be brought forward in terms of, like, how they kind of weave that into the narrative. Because it is tricky. It is a very tricky thing that you do in terms of trying to figure out specifically how exactly these things get brought forward narratively. Because if you're going to do that whole Ocarina of Time going back and forward and like interacting with things and whatnot, there is a correct time in which you have to start the story in order for that like constant flip back and forward to make sense.
Yeah.
Gotta be real careful with it. And it'll be interesting to see specifically how they bring those elements forward if, some sort of time traversal is on the table. But again, kind of hard to tell, purely speculative, and Lord knows it could be holiday of this year that this finally gets dropped. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, y'all know me. As soon as it comes out, I'm playing it. So.
Yeah, no, without any hesitation or question.
I'll get all the juicy deets like within a day or two.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. And what else I found interesting about the trailer is that it basically was almost entirely new stuff. We didn't really get like any glimpse at all. I don't think we saw a single goddamn space pirate in that trailer. or at least not a space pirate as we know them in the Prime series. Like, space pirates take many different forms, like even within the Prime series.
Correct. Yeah.
So, like, maybe what we saw in the trailer is a new kind of space pirate, or maybe if time travel, maybe that's what the space pirates like 1,000 years ago looked like, and then they evolved into, what we see in the other Prime games. Who knows? We don't yet, but
we don't entirely know yet.
We didn't see any space pirates, and we also didn't see Silex.
I was gonna ask if there was not. I think we saw a glimpse of the single-celled Metroid variant.
The Metroid, yeah.
The Metroid, okay. I keep wanting to call them Prototroids, but I know that's not even remotely true.
Yeah.
I think it's just because it's like there's like a single-celled organism, so it's like, it's like the first version, it's a prototype.
Yeah. Nope. It is, in fact, a failed clone of a Metroid.
M-O-C-K Troid.
The Metroid protege. Wait a second.
That actually would look kind of cool, though, if we get real with ourselves.
Yeah. The Prime games are usually pretty good at keeping the story internally consistent in the lore tech. See, and that's the thing. It's also kind of gonna depend a little bit on, like, how much the team from the first 3 Prime games are in this Prime game. But also, Silex is from Hunters originally, and that was handled by Nintendo Software Technology, not Retro Studios. I'm sure Retro Studios had, like, some amount of input on the game. But, like, there are some, like, inconsistencies with, like, within that game as well. And again, like, we don't know how much of, like, the team from the original games, if any, is working on this one. Just because it is Retro Studios making the game doesn't mean it's Retro Studios making the game. Like, now, I do have faith, because, like, Retro Studios, they've got a really good track record so far, but, it all depends.
Not to say that they are infallible, but so far they've shown that they have a pretty good understanding of the franchise, its mechanics, and overall, method.
If anything, they're basically the current custodians of the franchise as far as, like, Western audiences are concerned, and that's generally who Metroid is more popular with. Metroid isn't as big in Japan as it is in the West. And it's not even just, like, a sales numbers thing, because, like, different size countries and whatnot. It is just generally, Metroid's just more popular in the West than it is in Japan. And, like, also, first-person shooters aren't super popular in Japan, and the Prime games have generally underperformed even compared to other Metroid games in Japan. Right. So
aren't the Prime games kind of shunned in Japan? I don't know if they're shunned.
They're not shunned. They're just not as popular. I wouldn't describe it as shunned. Like, that implies that, like, Japan just doesn't like them at all. When no, it's just Metroid in general is just not as popular in Japan. It's important to remember that Metroid Other M was quote-unquote created to appeal to Japanese audiences, and it still sold like shit over there. So it's just a matter.
All aspects.
Yeah. It's just a matter of Metroid just not being as big of a thing, whether it's because of, like, the particular style of the game or whatever. It's just not as big. The baby.
I'd be interested to actually, like, find, like, if I had the power to, like, instigate a research paper and have it be a circumstance, like, actually ask, like, what about the Metroid series is not as appealing as other like first-party Nintendo titles?
Yeah.
Like you said, is it the vibe, the aesthetic, the setting, the concept, the foundation, the Federation even? Like, it's an interesting concept because, like, you know, this franchise has been around for an exceptionally long time.
Yeah. I mean, it was big enough for Samus to appear in the first Smash Brothers. That's not nothing.
It's not nothing. And stay there.
Yeah, and, like, Metroid had a whole freaking renaissance during the Game Boy Advance and GameCube era. So, like, it's just, I feel like it's just one of those things where Nintendo just doesn't focus on it as much, probably because it doesn't have, like, a quote-unquote, like, big mind behind it. Like, Zelda and Mario have Shigeru Miyamoto.
Yeah.
And Yoshio Sakamoto is sort of the big mind of the Metroid series, but Metroid was also kind of created by Gunpei Yokoi, who left the company on pretty bad terms.
Woof.
Yeah, and died shortly after leaving the company. So, I mean, it is probably just one of those things where it's just like they maybe feel like they don't have as much freedom to do like weird stuff with the Metroid series as they do with like Mario or Zelda or whatever. So they just don't focus on it as much as they do the others.
Yeah, I guess, like, if we're using the comparison of Mario and Zelda, those are both example franchises of where, like, there's a lot more wiggle room with the kind of entries and games that you can make within those respective franchises.
Yeah, like, even though Zelda doesn't have, like, a whole lot of spin-offs, it still has spin-offs, and, like, the idea of it being, like, a fantasy series, or, like, even just the concept of it, even without a timeline, being, like, an oral tradition, meaning it's more amorphous.
Right.
Like, every Link is different, every Zelda's different. I mean, Ganondorf's always the same, but, you know. Yeah. And then the Mario universe, like, it doesn't even need a story, so who fucking cares?
Right.
And, like, Mario can be in everything. They tried making a Metroid sports game, and nobody liked it.
Oops.
Wah, wah.
Whoops daisies.
And yeah, as much as I love the Prime games for expanding the lore, like, part of the problem is that it expanded the lore. It created a very hard universe. Like,
Yeah.
Metroid has very defined characters, settings, like, rules. I mean, it's not quite Mass Effect dense, but it is probably Nintendo's most well-defined universe outside of, like, I can't even really think of any others. Probably Pikmin. Pikmin only has 4 games.
Only has 4 games, and there's still a lot of, like, specifics that went into crafting it to make sure that felt realized and actualized.
Yeah.
Most other big name stuff kind of has there's a weird sort of vagueness with some of the entries in the mainline Nintendo series.
Yeah.
Like, Pikmin has lore? Yeah.
Pikmin has so much loreness.
It's crazy.
Like
specific. Okay, correction. It has crazy lore, but, like, none of it is the kind of thing that, like, puts it in your face. It's so much of it is, like, world building contextualization, like shit you find.
Like the Prime games, basically.
Yeah. God, that's the crossover we need.
Absolutely,
Pikmin cross
I would love it.
Metroid.
Kirby
Samus gets shrunk down to the size of a dime.
Kirby also has a really defined universe, not in the same way. Kirby's universe isn't defined in the same way. Like, yeah, the Kirby universe has a lot of lore, but it's not hard. It's not hard lore like Metroid. Like, it's still very loose. Like, oh, hey, King DDD, sometimes he's a good guy, sometimes he's a bad guy. I don't know. Sometimes this guy's a good guy, sometimes this guy's a bad guy. I don't know. Like, it's not really the same thing.
There's a difference between having a universe that is expansive versus a universe that is detailed.
Yeah. There isn't a Kirby
You can have a lot of shit in it. Yeah, like, you can have a lot of shit in it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's, like, fixate. Like, you look at the entirety of the Zelda series, right? You look at all the games that have ever existed. Realistically speaking, okay, we all love Zelda here, or at least the majority of us do love ourselves a good Zelda game.
Yeah.
The reality is that most of the Zelda games, in terms of, like, expansive lore, is kept rather minimum.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with understanding that there aren't really that overly detailed lore and universe is not something that the Zelda franchise needs.
Yeah.
In any one particular franchise, comparatively to something like the Metroid series, where it is an overarching story that continues from entry to entry. You have to be real sure you have things consistent, and, like, there being that ability to connect different elements is important, because all of a sudden, you know, having a fundamentally different change narratively somewhere means that you'll either have to retcon, or you have a plot hole that has been introduced, or that has been, you know, constructed in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, like, Metroid 1 through 4 is basically a continuous story where, like, each one leads into the next. Like, Metroid 1 introduces, oh hey, the space pirates and the Metroids, and, like, the Metroids are a threat. The Metroids are such a threat that Metroid 2 is all about Samus going to the Metroid homeworld and hunting down all the Metroids. But she finds the infant Metroid, doesn't destroy the infant Metroid. That leads into Super Metroid, where she drops the infant Metroid off at Ceres Research Station. But, you know, because of the events of Super Metroid, eventually the infant Metroid is destroyed, but also so are the space pirates and planet Zebes. But also, because of what happened in Metroid 2, the X are able to overrun SR-388 again, which leads into the events of Metroid 4. But also, because Samus brought the baby Metroid to Ceres Station in the first place, in Super Metroid, they're able to create the cell culture vaccine that saves her life. So, like,
Toon Link is a murderer.
Yeah. And then, because of that Metroid vaccine, well, that leads into the events of this game.
Right.
The Prime series is largely disconnected from the mainline games, but they also have basically a consistent story. Prime 1 introduces Phazon, and then Prime 2, there's another planet that had a Phazon meteor impact it, and the Metroid Prime has mutated into Dark Samus, and so on, and then Metroid Prime 3 is all about finally destroying the source of Phazon. So, like, again, it's a continuous story. So, Metroid Prime 4 seems to be building off of Metroid Prime Hunters. I'm not sure how it's going to be doing that, considering Prime Hunters is really self-contained as a story, except for the fact that, well, now Silex is showing up in Prime 4. I feel like Prime 4 is basically going to be the start of a new trilogy.
Yeah, like, the way that they're kind of framing this kind of makes it sound like, okay, Prime 1 through 3 had its own sort of concept, its own sort of, like, element to it.
Yeah.
And,
There's the crossover we need.
God, please.
Metroid Man Legends.
West Virginia! Mountain Mama! But, you know, it'll be interesting to see specifically, you know, how okay, so here's another thing that I think we talked about in previous Marches of Metroids, but now that Prime 4 is on its way again, proper, and we actually have, like, an end goal in sight for it.
Yeah. Still no release date, but...
True. But at least we have some confirmation that it's apparently happening this year at some point. And who knows? Wouldn't that be funny that when it comes to the Direct that's going to happen this Wednesday, that they didn't announce they didn't drop a date during the Switch, but when it came to the Switch 2, now we're giving you a date. Now we're doing that.
I mean,
we know for a fact that when it comes to Switch 2, it'll happen here, but for the Switch, we're not so sure.
I mean, I'll be honest, that's one theory I have for why it didn't get a release date in the Switch 1 Direct, is because it would be a launch title for the Switch 2. And they didn't want to play that. They didn't want to play their hand.
That does make a lot of sense, though. That genuinely makes a lot of sense. But so the thing that I do find interesting is that once again we have to ask ourselves this question of what is the narrative connection between the events that happen in Metroid Prime versus the mainline Metroid series?
There basically isn't any. The closest we get is in Metroid Prime 1. You can find a pirate log on the Orpheon right at the beginning of the game, which alludes to the events of Metroid. Like, it actually mentions the fall of Zebes. How Samus just came in, wrecked all their shit, and the space pirates are just like, fuck, man! We only 3 of our ships were able to get out of there! This sucks!
God damn it!
Like, and that's it. That's all we get, basically.
Right. So, if you were to put Metroids 1 through 5 on a chronological timeline, do the Prime series fit on that timeline, or are they considered to be, like, secondary, like, separate storylines?
So, generally, it's agreed that if the Prime games take place, they take place between Metroid 1 and Metroid 2, because Metroids aren't extinct yet. And, like, Prime 1 basically happens right after Metroid 1, and everything just takes place because there is an indeterminate amount of time between Metroid 1 and Metroid 2. Like, Metroid 2 could take place, like, any number of years after Metroid 1, basically. Like, they never give any sort of, like, hard date for that. So, which begs the question, when does Prime 4 take place? Because there's Mocktroids, but we don't see Metroids. Now, in Federation Force, that game has, like, a special ending where, like, we see Sylux steal a Metroid egg, and it's possible that, like, that's where he started cloning the Mocktroids from. And if there's a Metroid egg, that means it's taking place before Metroid 2. But it's also possible that this game is taking place, like, X amount of years after the events of Federation Force. We don't know how much time has passed between then and then. This could be a post-Super game. Who knows?
Right.
We know it's not post-fusion because of Samus's suit design. at the very least. So she hasn't gotten the Metroid DNA implanted in her yet. But it's not 100% guaranteed when it takes place yet, which I find interesting.
There's also Ridley in Samus Return, but that's a headache in and of itself.
Well, I mean, Ridley shows up in Super Metroid, and that's after Samus Returns, so... I mean, and that particular form of Ridley is explicitly intended to sort of connect the Prime games to the mainline series, because he's supposed to be sort of like halfway between Meta Ridley with the armor and regular Ridley without the armor. Like, he's almost completely regrown his original body. It's called Proteus Ridley or something like that.
What?
Yeah. Like Proteus Ridley or Protean Ridley or something like that. The running theory I've seen is that Prime 4 happens after Super. I mean, I would like that, but we just don't know 100% yet.
I love the concept of the timeline being like game 1, string of 4 games, and possibly a spin-off. Game 2.
I mean, that's just Kingdom Hearts.
Ugh. Fuck.
So
Shut up! No, stop!
Look forward to Metroid 358 over 2 days coming soon.
Shut up! Shut the hell up!
Metroid Birth by Sleep.
No!
Metroid Dream Drop Distance. Luna beat me to it. There is
Go
a
to
galactic
hell.
calendar date. Yeah, there is a galactic calendar
Dread
date.
drop distance, come on!
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Lucaria brings up a good point. There was a galactic calendar date in the reveal trailer for Prime 4 that did put it after Super. But that also implies that they are actually keeping track of things by dates.
Timeline-wise.
That hard. Which I'm not 100% sure I buy that they're doing, but who knows? Maybe they are.
Are we gonna get a Galactic Federation Historia?
I mean,
Actually, now that I say that out loud, wait a minute.
give it to me though. I mean, okay,
Wait a minute,
we are getting the Prime art book sometime later this
Right.
year, though.
That actually would be really funny if they did an art book for the Prime series, but it's framed and decorated like it's official, like classified information from the Galactic Federation.
Oh my god, I would love that. I would love that so much.
Top
That'd be
secret
so
information regarding bounty hunter Samus Aran. And then like underneath it, it's just like in the same font as the series, it's like Prime Directive.
The declassified files.
Yeah, hold on though, like, hey, Mr. Mole,
You listening?
moly. I know you're here, moly.
So speaking of like things from like the perspective of like in universe and whatnot, all the like scan logs and all that throughout the Prime series. Do we think those are from Samus's perspective? I mean, some of them obviously aren't, like the pirate data logs and whatnot. Like, or like Chozo lore. Those are obviously not. I'm talking about like all the flavor text. Like when you scan a space pirate crate in Prime 2 and you get a little bit of dialogue that just says space pirates strangely dislike theft. That is
You don't say.
That is literally what it says. I like to think that like whenever you're reading like flavor text like that, that's like not specifically indicated to be like an external voice, like a space pirate, you know, complaining about how science team has vapor for brains again. I like to think that that's sort of a shorthand for Samus, like, scanning the thing, getting a readout, and then, like, her internal monologue. It's just gamifying all of that so that you just get it right away.
Right.
Or at least that's just the way I like to look at it, because I think it gives Samus a little bit more personality. And it also makes Samus feel like more active in the world, but also just generally like more like, I don't know, we see Samus as like a badass bounty hunter who, you know, shoots lots of pirates very fast. She's very good at it. I like the idea of the scan logs. I like the idea of the scan logs throughout the Prime series being a sort of internal monologue for her, because that also kind of puts a lot of just intelligence into the character. Like, oh hey, I'm researching this and doing detective work, and this is the conclusion I'm coming to. Like, I just like that idea for the character.
Right. Interesting, because it also kind of it personifies her in a non-invasive way.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like making her talk.
Yeah.
Baby.
The baby. The baba.
The bab.
The wee
El
baby.
Nino. Ay, the baby.
Ah, the baby. Because, yeah, there's a lot of, like, flavor text throughout the Prime games that seem just a little bit more than just, oh, hey, this is my suit, like, giving me a reading of something.
Right.
Like the thing I mentioned where, like, space pirates, for some weird reason, don't like being stolen from.
I wonder why.
That's weird.
That's weird.
There is actually, like, also in-universe, like, precedent for it, in that, if you, like, go into your inventory system in Prime 1 and Prime 2, and you actually read up on all the different, like, suit upgrades, like, you can read up on the power beam and whatnot, it does start with, like, a generic, like, gamified, like, description of, like, oh yeah, the power beam, it shoots real fast, but it's the weakest one. After you scroll down for a little bit, you get a thing that's labeled specifically Samus's notes. And even though it's just more stuff like, oh hey, if your shots are ricocheting, stop shooting it, it's not working.
Yeah, like, knock it off. Like, just stop doing that.
I like it, again, it's just like adding personality to the character of Samus.
Yeah. Gives that little bit of contextual information without, again, getting too, like, hammy or in the way.
Yeah. Like, it's just, hey, it's Samus, she talking sometimes, and that's just what she do. I already used that teleportal, I can't remember.
Listen, man, don't steal my shit. Okay?
Just don't.
I like my failed morph ball prototype. Touch it and die.
Those failed morph ball prototypes, I don't know about that. I don't know if you want to keep those, man. Those didn't go well.
No.
Consider.
Did not go well at all.
Ball. The Ponder Ball. Oh, man! That's... okay. I want to know, for Prime 4, how they're gonna factor psychic abilities into the Morph Ball.
Yeah, what pray tell does this mean?
I gotta know how they do that, because, like, another thing I love about the Prime games is how they integrate the Morph Ball. Like, the 2D games use the Morph Ball a lot, and it's cool and all, but, like, the 3D games do so much more with the Morph Ball. It's, and, like, I love it. Like, I want to see how the Morph Ball gets integrated with the psychic abilities. Like, are we gonna be able to... I mean, I'd imagine, like, some sort of, like, special Spider Ball track that you can only use if psychic, but, like, maybe also there's, like, a 3D, like, sort of, like, psychic tunnel that you can use as the Morph Ball, and it sort of, like, turns into a 2D Metroid game briefly or something like that. I don't know. Give Morph Ball Spider legs. Yes. Literal Spider Ball. Also, another thing I noticed, when, like, using the psychic powers to curve the bullet, because, you know, we're playing Wanted now. So the projectile itself had, like, a number of, like, particles surrounding it, sort of like the wave beam. Every time it hit an enemy, that number of particles went down by 1. So, A, there's a visual representation of, like, how many enemies you can hit with, like, a single control projectile. B, will you be able to upgrade that?
Huh. There's a lot of potential questions.
Yeah.
Like, just... Also, unfortunately, I guess Samus just rode that train in silence because I was reading the wiki that Lucario put in the Metroid forum.
Oh, okay.
The cosmic calendar. I was just like trying to briefly run through and like understand like what the hell is going on because 20x5, 20x6, 20x7. What?
What is this, Mega Man?
I mean, that is. All they did was move the X. Which, depending on how you speak about it, is also what happened in the Metroid series.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happened in this game.
Yeah, it's interesting just to see like the different ways and features that they can bring in new bits and pieces. Because again, like you brought up before, the concept of potentially having it be where this is going to be a new like entry in like a new trilogy or storyline, we'll have to see.
Yeah. I'm just glad so far that, like, we've seen a new suit design. It's not just gonna be, like, recolors of the various suit like we got in the first Prime game. Like, brand new suit design. That means they're coming up with new ideas. The psychic abilities is a new idea, but it's nice to see that it's more than... The psychic abilities seems so far like an expansion on other things that were in the series prior. Like, moving things... is kind of like the tracing puzzles from Prime 3, moving the bullet. You know, this is like the new suit, it means there's something definite going on there. And like another cool thing that I like about what we've seen so far is I don't think I saw, like, in those open areas, I don't think I saw one of those regular old shoot to open doors. Like, the actual maps for those areas didn't look like they were, like, wide open or anything like that. Like, they still looked like closed-in areas, like we see corridors like we've seen in, like, basically every other Prime game. But maybe they're doing away with the doors to make the environments feel a little bit more organic, a little bit less unreal, as it were.
Sure. But how will she get anywhere?
Oh no! Also, she teleported from into that area as opposed to taking an elevator.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean there's no elevators. Like, this game has elevators. But, I mean, how far does that go? Is it going to be like how open is this game going to be? Because doors, colored doors throughout the Prime games were, like, the most common way to keep the player from going where they weren't supposed to. Yet. Until they get, like, the upgrade until they get the beam that they need in order to open that door. If they're doing away with that, if they're not going to have the colored doors, or the colored doors are going to be, like, really de-emphasized to the point where, like, there are basically almost none in, like, the open world areas, or the more organic environmental areas, I guess I should call them, because it's not open world yet, as far as we know. Like, how are they going to keep the player from progressing to places they don't want the player to go? Because that was a big thing about, like, the Prime games, is that they really don't like you doing sequence breaking. They released later revisions of Prime 1 to remove speedrunning tricks.
Right.
Are they gonna relax on that idea? Are they gonna do what they did with Metroid Dread and include, like, purpose-built sequence break tricks into the game? I don't know if they're going to go that far. I would love it if they did, but I'm just not sure that's what's gonna happen.
Hard to say, given everything so far that we've seen and have not seen.
Yeah. Because, yeah, so far we've really only seen 2 environments. The Galactic Federation base in that reveal trailer, and this foresty environment, which is basically now confirmed to be on a different planet, I think, considering, like, the new trailer mentions that, like, Samus is trapped on this planet and is not sure how she got there, or, like, has to find a way to escape. So even though we saw Samus's ship in the reveal trailer, maybe we're not gonna have the ship once in the game.
Hard to say.
Yeah.
What specifically all that means. Because as it stands, we're in a weird situation where we're all just still trying to figure this out.
Yeah. Might be a little harder to design a purposeful sequence break in 3D space over 2D. I feel like there'd be more avenues to stumble into something. Yeah, that is the other thing.
Might be
like,
time for the player.
Yeah, I mean, 3D environments are basically exponentially more complex to create than 2D environments like this one. Just because you have to think about how the player is able to move in so many more directions. I mean, that's why the Prime games, as opposed to having the space jump where you jump infinitively, they have the space jump boots where you can double jump. And that's it. So yeah, it'll be
a lot of interesting concepts. Just trying to figure out how all the different ways that they can go about doing this stuff. Again, a lot.
Yeah.
So, while we continue to roam around,
Yes.
let's talk about another aspect of future endeavors and stuff like this. Let's talk about the Switch 2 for a bit.
Oh yeah, because oh boy, we're gonna have the Switch 2 Direct freaking Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And we already know a decent amount about the Switch 2. Like, it's going to be bigger.
Yeah, it's physically gonna be bigger.
It's physically going to be bigger, but and it looks like it has mice in the Joy-Cons.
Want mice? Because this is how you get mice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting concepts going into this in terms of trying to figure out like all the different elements. So, granted, so much of this is like speculative, and we'll probably get answers to this more adamantly.
Yeah.
Come Wednesday. And I told Kirby this, and I'm saying it out loud to potentially lock myself into this, to incentivize myself to actually do this. I'm very tempted to just wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Daylight Time, hop into general voice chat, and just vibe and see who shows up.
I doubt you'll be alone.
Yeah, I can't imagine like I'd be completely independent. But also it's kind of like a fun little thing. When was the last time Jazz specifically has had like a reveal sort of thing like this? Like outside of Dread, really.
Yeah. I want to say like the last time we did something like that was for a quote unquote E3. Because I know E3 hasn't been a thing for a couple years, but I think we did it for like last year's like Nintendo Summer Conference. But I'm not 100% sure. It was definitely one of the directs for sure. I just don't know which one specifically.
Yeah. I feel like it's been years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
But this is a fun aspect because like, you know, getting around with a group of friends and watching the sort of, you know, the reveal of a future endeavor is an interesting concept. I remember specifically at one point in time, I stayed up all night and ended up watching a direct with it was 3 of the Australian folks. It was Noodle, it was Taryn, and it was Chicken Kid, which is a member from Noodle's community. And we watched the Animal Crossing direct.
That tracks.
And it was just like I was awake and I was just like, fuck it, might as well. Cause like it was a strange situation because like if I'm remembering it correctly, that one was at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
It was like, oh good.
So I actually have like, I don't have a full list of questions yet, but I do have a kind of a short list of questions along with what I expect the answers to be for some of these questions. So first one is, how much onboard storage is going to be included? Will there be multiple SKUs with different storage sizes like the Wii U did? How expandable is the storage going to be? And will you be able to just take the SD card from your original Switch and put it in the Switch 2 right away? So my thought is Nintendo's probably actually going to get with the times and use a solid state drive, but
I hope so.
It's going to be like 128 gigabytes. It's not going to be big just because they're going to want to keep the cost down.
If I had, okay, you know what it is? You know what I genuinely think it's going to be?
Yeah.
Similar to the Wii U.
Yeah.
The deluxe version might have 256.
See, it's funny.
If there is like a deluxe version.
I kind of went in the opposite direction, and that there'd be a budget option with 64 gigabytes. But like, same concept. There's gonna be 2 different SKUs with 2 different like sizes of onboard storage. It's going to be expandable just like the Switch with like micro SD cards, and it'll probably take ones that, just like the Switch, go up to 2 terabytes or higher. It'll probably go up to like however big SD cards are gonna get within the next few years. I don't know if you'll be able to upgrade this solid state drive on the system. Nintendo doesn't like you being able to modify their systems like that. That's probably not going to be a thing like it is with the Steam Deck. But I also think that Nintendo wants to make things as easy as possible. After you do like the system transfer, you'll be able to just take your SD card from your original Switch and just plop it right into the new Switch 2 without like any issues. You won't have to like reformat it or anything, because they have confirmed they want it to be like backwards compatible, right?
It's
or at least
funny you mention that.
Yeah.
Because everything that I've seen so far has been a kinda sorta.
Yeah.
In that the only thing that is interesting about it is that we have at least had some element of understanding that there's going to be Switch 2 version or Switch 2 edition versions of games.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, genuinely, what does that mean?
What the fuck are they talking about?
Like, is it is a Switch 2 edition of, like, Tears of the Kingdom, like, just a version of the game that runs better?
Yeah.
Does it run at a higher resolution? Like,
so
what does that mean?
Funny you go into that. That was actually part of my next series of questions. Was will there be potential performance patches for Switch 1 games on the Switch 2? How many games are going to receive these patches? And how in-depth will these patches go into affecting performance? Now, based on some buried code in Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, where like people have basically went in and discovered there is like a 60 frames per second toggle, I think it's safe to say there will be performance patches or performance modes for at least some Switch games on the Switch 2. Now, I think the most realistic way of looking at this is that it's really going to be first and second party games that do this. They're very rare third party games are going to do this. Most like Sega games like Sonic and Shadow Generations, that might have like a performance patch on the Switch 2, but that's because Shadow Generations came out within like the last year. So
sure.
Sega probably already has a Switch 2 development unit, and so they already know how to and have been at work implementing a patch.
It's funny you mention that.
Yeah.
Because apparently
yeah.
not many devs actually have a development kit yet. According to a couple, I'll do some research real quick and just find the thing that I've seen. But like, apparently a lot of development folks and studios have openly said out loud that, or at least, you know, according by word of mouth, that they have not been supplied a dev kit for the Switch 2 yet.
That is interesting. That's a little concerning, actually.
Yeah. Switch 2 development. Let me see. Yeah, from the games post, which was from 12 hours ago. It says many developers still waiting on Nintendo 2 Switch dev kits, new report claims. Based on many of the things that I've heard, says... Oh, and this is from Digital Foundry. Backed up by John Linderman from Digital Foundry, who also shared what they heard during this year's GDC. Speaking on the latest episode of Direct Weekly, he said, quote, based on the things that I've heard, it seems like many developers are still without kit. So they are still very slow at rolling out this to a lot of developers. I think there will be third-party games early on, of course. It just seems like a lot of the medium to small developers do not have access to development hardware, so Nintendo has been very selective of who they allow it to.
Interesting.
in simpler terms, Nintendo seems to be handpicking which studios can start working on Switch 2 titles for right now, which might mean some games won't be ready for launch or even anytime soon after.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's an interesting concept, specifically on like what that could theoretically mean.
Yeah.
Because it's sad that this is the first thought that comes to mind. Mm-hmm. That I do have to wonder, is it also a potential that the reason why they've been so slow about rolling out the dev kits to people and developers is purely because they were afraid of people leaking it?
That is definitely a possibility. Especially if it's, like, mostly Western developers who are expressing this issue.
Yeah.
I could...
Because it...
Yeah. I could see Nintendo being very, very cagey about who they want to trust with their new hotness dev kits.
Yeah. It's rough and unfortunate that that's the way it unfortunately transpired.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll just have to see. Kind of circling back around though, as far as like how many games are going to receive these patches, I said mostly like first and second party games, not really expecting third party games to get them, which I think is reasonable. I think it's a reasonable prediction. I don't expect like Doom 2016 to get a performance patch on the Switch 2. If anything, they're probably just going to release a new version of Doom 2016. That
makes the most sense.
But as far as how in-depth the patches will go into affecting performance, I think, based on Xenoblade Chronicles X, we can expect some games to include frame rate boosts and maybe also resolution boosts, but mostly just for games released after like a certain period where they knew they were making the Switch 2, probably like 2023 onward. So we can probably expect like Thousand Year Door, Tears of the Kingdom, Xenoblade Chronicles X. Those are going to have like FPS boost patches alongside resolution bumps. As far as, and those we can expect to see like either at launch or within the launch window. Games prior to that period of time, stuff like Metroid Prime Remastered, Super Mario Odyssey, Xenoblade 3, those won't offer frame rate boosts. Rather, they will focus mostly on stabilizing the frame rate that's already there. So like Super Mario Odyssey, that was a game that targeted 60 frames per second. It'll probably see like a resolution boost. But Xenoblade Chronicles 3, that was a game that targeted 30 frames per second. It's not gonna get a resolution. It is gonna get like a resolution boost, but it's not gonna get a frame rate boost mode. It's gonna be stuck at 30 frames per second. Tears of the Kingdom, not Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild. If that gets a performance boost mode, it's also going to be mostly resolution, not frame rate, anything like that. And that those will kind of roll out after the launch window, because they'll have to actually like go back and sort of start making those patches.
Right.
As opposed to ones that like within like 2023 onward, they'll be able to be like, oh yeah, we already knew we were doing this, so we buried the code in there, as it were.
Damn.
Yeah. I think that's my prediction as to how performance modes are going to work with between Switch 1 to Switch 2 games.
A lot of it we're just gonna have to see, I hope.
Yeah. And then the tablet display. Right. Oh yeah. What's the resolution and refresh rate going to be of the built-in display? What kind of display is it going to be? Is it going to feature variable refresh rate? Because that's also like the new hotness on consoles these days is variable refresh rate, and like a lot of PC handhelds are including it as well. I don't think
120 hertz or else I'm gonna shoot myself into the sun!
So yeah, here's the thing. The resolution of the display, it's probably going to get a boost up to 1080 from the Switch's 720, but Nintendo's not going to be cool and include a 120 hertz display. It's going to be 60 hertz. I would love a 120 hertz display, because then for like their emulators, they can do black frame insertion, which is black frame insertion does wonders for CRT filters. I'll just say that much.
All right.
But like, we're not gonna get a 120 hertz display just because like Nintendo's gonna be like, who cares? We're not gonna make any games that run at 120 hertz, so nobody wants games that run at 120 hertz. Why should we bother?
Well, not only that, but I am in the camp that genuinely has a hard time understanding how like there are people who there are people that I know of personally who literally like will find like they ask me like, hey, I'm looking to get a new monitor for my computer setup, and I give them like a bunch of different options and whatnot, and then they look over at what it is and they say, okay, dude, listen, I want 120 hertz. Everything underneath it is garbage, so stop recommending those to me. And I'm like, dude, like,
okay, so
why? What are you doing that requires 120 hertz refresh rate for your display? Like,
so look, I'm playing this game on a 120 hertz display right now. Like, and I have played games at 120 FPS. It is nice compared to 60. Like, there is a perceptible difference, and it is very nice, and I like it a lot. That said, like, if you're gonna be that much of a snob about it, what are you?
You don't care. Like, you don't really care.
You don't really care. Like, come on.
You watched a YouTube video about the importance of 120 hertz display from somebody who plays professional Call of Duty. Relax.
Yeah, and like, look, like I also watch people who do like tech reviews and like talk about like 120 hertz, and like Wolf Den is one of them, and even Wolf Den is just like, it'd be nice, but like it's not important.
Yeah. Seeing like ProMotion or 120 hertz refresh rate on like your tablet or your phone, in that sort of regard, I genuinely understand that, because you're interacting with that device in a fundamentally different way.
Yeah.
Like, you want to have an experience that is as smooth and as seamless for that sort of UI. That sort of experience is really important. But like, off the top of your head, how many Nintendo games can you think of that would actually benefit from a 120 hertz refresh rate display?
I mean, realistically, the only one I can think of at all is Splatoon. And that's because it's a competitive shooter.
Exactly.
It is a competitive game. Ergo, it would benefit from like a higher frame rates, because higher frame rates does mean more input, like opportunities, less input lag, that sort of thing. That's really the only use case where it is that imperative. It's a competitive environment. Everything else, 60 is more than good enough. Like, Metroid Dread runs at 60. It feels great. And I do prefer 60 over 30 when I can get it. Like, Metroid Samus Returns on the 3DS, that ran at 30 frames per second. It does feel sluggish compared to Metroid Dread. Not just because, you know, screen's smaller, so Samus doesn't move around as quick, and that sort of thing, and they were still trying to figure things out. It is also just, like, 60's more responsive. It's the same deal with, like, the Sonic the Hedgehog games. Like, generally, I prefer when Sonic games run at 60 just because it it feels so much better. Playing Sonic Unleashed at 60 frames per second is a revelation. Like, I already liked Unleashed, like, including the Werehog, but seriously, playing at a stable, locked 60 frames per second changes that game. It changes it. It changes it from good to hot motherfucking damn.
Amazing.
Exactly. And then, like, I played it at 120 frames per second, and that also felt good, but it also has a sort of, like, uncanny valley sort of feeling to it. Like, it almost felt like I was doing something I shouldn't be doing. It's just like
The Hobbit at 48 frames per second.
Yeah, it's just like you're so used to it being one way that when they actually change it, and the argument can be made that, like, the change is just straight up for the better, it's still just like, I don't know about this, guys.
Are we sure?
Are we sure about this? Now, here's one thing I would like if the refresh rate was 120, and an actual benefit of 120 hertz displays compared to 60 hertz displays. 40 frames per second. I know that sounds weird, because, like, everybody always talks about, like, you know, it's 30 or 60. 40 frames per second is a compromise that is, once you get into the right mindset for it, it's actually really nice. Like, and I know it sounds weird, like, why would I do 40 frames per second? It's kind of something that I got into with the Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck, you can actually set the hertz of the display, like, just on any game. Like, even the original Steam Deck could do it, and you could do it on the OLED as well. The OLED has, like, a weird max hertz of 90. I'm not really sure I get that, but, like, 40 frames per second is a great compromise between, like, frame rate and, like, visual quality. Because, like, games nowadays, if you, like, lower the resolution, they do actually tend to start, like, looking not so great anymore. Like, in a weird way. Like, in a way where it's just like, I feel like this game is and I hate that I'm not really able to, like, articulate this idea super well, but it is sort of like one of those if you know you know kind of things.
Sure.
But yeah, I feel like the benefit. Yeah, I feel like that would be the benefit of Nintendo using a 120 hertz monitor on the Switch 2 would be being able to target 40 frames per second for games. I would like that.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see specifically, like, how they go about doing it. Because, like,
yeah.
So now comes another question.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to be the difference between handheld and docked?
Yeah. See, that's the other reason, like, I feel like Nintendo would stick with a 60 hertz display, because that would create in most households, a very, very visible difference between modes. Now,
right.
It would also sell the portable aspect of the Switch 2 a lot more, because I feel like that's the best way for Nintendo to sell the Switch 2, is to focus on, hey, here's what it can do in handheld mode. Docking it is cool, but, like, I feel like if you're buying a Switch 2 to leave it docked most of the time, and if Nintendo focuses on creating a Switch 2 where they want you to dock it most of the time, that's why not just make a console at that point, just like a regular ass console. But yeah, that is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Docking it. Is it going to... I don't think it's going to go up to 4K. If it does 4K, it's going to be with like some sort of like upscaling algorithm.
Which, depending on the circumstance, it's going to be really tricky to get around that in a way that will keep people happy.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo does have a patent now on like some sort of upscaling thing, but we don't know how effective it's.
What does that mean?
I mean, it's basically just going to be like their version of DLSS or whatever. But like, how's it going to compare to other forms of upscaling on the market, like what the PlayStation 5 Pro does with its pisser?
Ah, piss!
Oh, piss!
Ah, piss!
I mean,
God, man, go right down to pisser!
I'm pretty sure Nintendo's having Nvidia provide the chip for the Switch and all that, so they're probably gonna use some variant on Nvidia's upscaling technology. It's just, you know, like, how is the Nintendo version gonna be bigger and badder? How are they going to sell me on this idea? And is that gonna be how they upscale Switch 1 games? Because I gotta tell you, if that's how they're gonna plan on upscaling Xenoblade Chronicles 2, no thanks. I'm good, actually. Because, oh boy, that game, it looks rough. Sometimes.
The other thing I'm also really interested in terms of just like notations that people have been making about the design of the Switch 2.
Yeah.
Revolves around the idea that the Joy-Cons themselves magnetically attach to the console, and people make the notation by saying that means that it does not matter which direction you make the actual controllers go. If you wanted, you could put the controllers on the console upside down. Which sounds strange until I started seeing like mock-ups and like ideas that people were coming up with, where it's like, okay, that now means that the USB-C port is now like, because there's two USB-C ports that we know of. Yeah, there's one on the top, there's one on the bottom. The one on the top of the Switch is slightly offset to the right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
One concept that I did see, that I genuinely think it's interesting, and I'm bringing it up purely because the conversation's happening in chat, like recently, was somebody theorized an attachment that allowed you to actually attach a second screen to your Switch, a la the DS.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's just entirely a mock-up. It's just something that somebody did, like, on Reddit, like, a little while ago. And I gotta be real with you. I looked at that, and I was like, that would actually be really cool. Because then, the whole thing, the screen, swivels down laptop DS style and covers the other screen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay.
So,
This could be interesting.
I do have one issue with this concept.
Right.
And it's that it is potentially user unfriendly simply because somebody somewhere is going to accidentally dock their Switch upside down and break it.
Yeah. And I can't think of a way of getting around that.
And I feel like part of the design of the new Joy-Cons is actually where the magnets are, so you won't actually be able to dock it upside down. It just looks like that, but the way the magnets are actually oriented will prevent you from doing that. Because that's how magnets work. They can attract, but they can also repel, and you can do this in real life with a bar magnet. Like, if you put two bar magnets next to each other and you align the north and south poles so that, like, north is going to north and south is going to south, they will just repel each other. I think that's how the Joy-Con magnets are going to be designed, and how the magnets in the Switch are going to be designed. There's going to be the north pole at the top of the top end of the Joy-Con near the plus and minus button. The south pole is going to be on the bottom end of the Joy-Con. That's the south pole is going to be on the top end of the Switch, and the north pole is going to be on the bottom end of the Switch, and that's how they're going to keep you from slotting in the Joy-Cons upside down.
So what you mean to tell me is I could put my Joy-Cons backwards, so the sticks are facing in the opposite direction.
You could put them on backwards, yes, but that means you won't be able to dock it upside down. And also, if you dock your Switch backwards at that point, well,
where my buttons go?
that's just you being stupid, and Nintendo can fight that in court much more easily.
Mom! The buttons are gone! Flip them around, sweetie! Oh.
So yeah, that's how I think the magnet connection is actually going to work, is that.
That's the crazy thing that they're going to do down the line. There's going to be a Metal Gear Solid game exclusively for the Switch 2. It's a refight with Psycho Mantis, but you have to put the controllers on backwards.
I would unironically love that, though.
And you have to remember where the buttons are, and that's how you actually do the boss battle.
That would be amazing. Give it to me, please, now.
Well, now that you say it.
I remember a joke when, like, I think it was a Chip and Ironicus joke when, like, the fucking Switch Labo came out. They were just like, man, if only Kojima waited a little bit longer before retiring from Metal Gear, he would have had a field day with Labo. Cardboard boxes.
Right there. Right for itself.
But yeah, that is a good point, though. Like, yeah, like, it does kind of seem like the Joy-Cons have a little bit more of, like, a you can do it wrong to them compared to, like, the Joy-Cons compared to the previous Joy-Cons.
It is slightly strange because we're also trying to figure out, like, what, you know, I'm still trying to wrap my head around, like, what's the top USB port for?
Yeah. They haven't said.
And why is it off-centered? Hopefully we find out on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But, like, it's such an oddity because it's like, okay, what?
Why would you put that there? Why would you do this? What is the point of view? Now,
there comes a weirdness with it.
Yeah, I would guess game attachments, probably.
It makes sense.
And then, like, what sort of display is it gonna be? OLED, AMOLED, LCD, LED,
micro LED.
Man, that'd be great. That'd be cool.
I highly doubt it because people are still really confused as to what the fuck micro LED even is.
Yeah. But I don't think
if they put micro LED in the built-in display, you know for a fucking fact that there'd be so many goddamn YouTube videos who are like, what the fuck, is it better? I don't know. Micro LED, it means the LEDs are smaller. That's worse. I want them bigger.
The bigger LEDs.
Shut up, Pete. Bigger's better, goof.
So, since we're talking about peripherals now, will old controllers work with the new device? Are the new Joy-Cons going to feature Hall effect sticks to help avoid drifting? And then what about the triggers? So, I think Nintendo will probably say something to the effect of, yes, they will have Hall effect sticks, and they are only doing it because they know that everybody is going to throw a fucking fit if they don't put Hall effect sticks in the Joy-Cons. Hall effect sticks can still drift.
Yeah.
I just want to make that clear for everybody out there. Like, Hall effect sticks can still drift. They may take longer to wear out than, like, the sticks that we are used to mostly, but like, if the Hall effect stick is poorly calibrated to begin with, it is going to drift like a motherfucker. So, like, don't expect that just because it's Hall effect means it's going to be amazing and better. That's not how it works. That ain't it. Now, that said, would Hall effect sticks probably be better than what they have in the Switch right now? Yes.
Yes.
I'm not gonna kid myself. It would legitimately be better.
Right.
So, it would be better. I've forgotten how to get this fucking upgrade, cause whole hot diggity damn. Oh wait, no. Now I remember. Okay.
I just still feel so bad as somebody who has had Nintendo Switches since day one.
Yeah.
Like, I literally stood out front of a Kroger branded store that had an electronics department. And I was one of 20 people who got their Nintendo Switches day one from that establishment. Because everybody was down the road at the Walmart. There was like 300 people at the Walmart down the road. And apparently no one thought Fred Meyer.
Yeah.
But I have, out of the consoles that I have purchased for myself and for others, and the numerous amounts of Joy-Cons that I have purchased over the many years, over the 8 years that the Joy-Cons and the Switch has been around, I genuinely have never owned a pair of Joy-Cons that ever experienced drift.
I had a PlayStation 5 controller start drifting.
I remember that.
Before any of my Joy-Cons.
And I feel so bad because, like, it's not me saying, like, I don't think it's a problem. I do know, I recognize it's a problem. I just find it so funny cosmically.
Yeah,
that
same.
This issue managed to completely avoid me, and yet I've had numerous conversations. Hell, Wednesday night Denny's were like instances where like folks would be like, "Oh, my fucking Joy-Cons are drifting again. This is like my third pair this year," and I'm like,
we don't want to we don't want to undersell the drifting problem because it is a thing that happened. It is a thing that exists. And like, I would like to see Nintendo actually fucking address it. So like,
properly address it.
So I am Team Hall effect sticks. If for no other reason than it means like Nintendo actually has to fucking deal with this, as opposed to sticking their heads in the sand. Like,
right.
Which
stop holding them that way.
Yeah. So like, yes, I'm Team Hall effect, and like, but like I said, I feel like if Nintendo announces that they have Hall effect sticks, it's a PR move and nothing more. It doesn't actually mean the sticks will be better, because like you can still get a set of faulty Hall effect sticks just like any other, but like it does mean that they will have worked on a solution to a problem that does exist and they can't ignore anymore. So
yeah.
I would like that.
The other aspect about this that I would be very interested to also see is we'll shift the direction to talk about another element about the Switch 2 launch. In what exactly does everybody feel like is going to be the concept for what's the turnaround in stock gonna feel like with these?
Yes. So, because like when the original launch of the Switch, it was notoriously difficult to get a hold of.
Yeah.
And then, well, there weren't really any console launches after that, except during the pandemic, with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series, and those were basically directly affected by the pandemic. I don't really know that we can say for certain that, like, you know, like, those are indicative of what the Switch 2 launch will be like, because it was just shit. It was just shitty all around, generally. Now, you mentioned that Nintendo has actually said something to this effect.
They have confidently said that they will be able to fulfill the pre-orders to ensure that when the Switch 2 launches, people will be able to get them. I don't know where that metric is coming from. Where are they getting that confidence? Unless they've been sitting on them. Yes.
Yeah. And Nintendo and stock shortages go together like peanut butter and jelly. Need we talk about Amiibo?
Well, and it also sucks because, like, you have to ask yourself the question of, like, how often is it a element where the stock inventory of something is struggling to keep up with demand, and like the Amiibo and like what happened during the initial start of the pandemic, how often was it just scalpers and dipshits buying up like 5 or 6 consoles and then just squatting on them and reselling them for $500 a pop? Nuts, dude.
It sucked. It sucked the big one.
I specifically just remember, like, with the launch of the PS5, how, like, there were signs everywhere on every store that had the ability to sell electronics and had the ability to sell video game consoles. There were those signs that was just like, limit 1 per. Sorry, we don't have any stock. No, we don't know when they're coming back.
I was on an emailing list to get mine. Legitimately, I had to, like, get an email and then show up at the GameStop at a particular point of time before it opened in order to get a piece of paper from the poor employee who was stuck in there. And, like, he had to be like, okay, you can get this one, but you can't get this one, but this is a piece of paper that's saying you will get a one. And,
not, like, saying that you won't, but you will, maybe.
You will get one. It might not be the one you wanted. Fortunately, it was the one I wanted. But, because, like, I was just like, I just want one. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's just like, is that going to be the world we live in?
It's unfortunate that we can't really tell either.
Yeah.
That's the part that sucks about it, is that we truly are just unaware of how this goes forward.
I will say, I would like it if Nintendo did set up some sort of system like that, where you could actually put your name on a list, and, like, you'll be put in line to get a thing. It's like, Sony did do that with the PlayStation 5. I'm not sure it actually stopped scalpers, but it is sort of like a preventative measure, because then they could be like, oh, hey, these are all bot accounts, we can just, like, remove those names or whatever, you know, that sort of thing. Like, it's not a perfect system, but if they like if they like link them to like Nintendo online accounts. Like, oh hey, you have a Nintendo Online membership plus or whatever. Hey, you can get in line for this thing.
Your pre-order is tied to you. You've locked in. Nintendo will be sending you a Switch 2 because you purchased it through that.
Yeah, because that's how Steam handled the Steam Deck. And I feel like the Steam Deck launch was a big success because of that, because it was tied to your Steam account. If you had a Steam account and you got in, they would put you on a list, and like they would give you a time period of like when you would get one. Now, of course, it was dependent on like, hey, you know, you're X number on the list, you're not going to get one at launch, but you are going to get one within like X amount of time. It's like, okay, I at least have a window. I might not get one right away, but I will get one. I will get the one I want. I feel like Nintendo, if they adopt something like that, that would be cool.
It would be neat to see how they go about doing that. But again, it's a fascinating concept to see how they're, again, where there's a lot of confidence that they have that like it will be fulfilled. You will be getting one, and we'll see. I want Miyamoto to show up at my front door.
We would like to play.
I mean, I'm just a hop, skip, and a jump from...
That'd be a great way to bring that campaign back, though, I can tell you what.
Oh my god. That shit would be amazing. It's time to switch it up. Oh, man.
But yeah, I do kind of feel the same way you do. They have a sort of unfounded confidence about this whole stock dilemma that they have battled with far too many times for them to be as confident as they are. But I guess we just won't know until like they actually tell us what their plan is. I hope they tell us what their plan is. I just don't know that they are going to.
Yeah. And I'm currently I'm searching through stuff and seeing if I can't find the article in question that specifically was talking about it. I think it was from back in. Nintendo Switch 2 aims to, quote, have enough units to meet demand at launch. This is from comicbook.com, and this was back in February. Last fall, a rumor suggested that the Nintendo Switch launch window will have 2.5 times the number of consoles available that we saw during the Switch's launch. If accurate, that would estimate around 70 million units will be made available.
I mean, that's not a lot, still.
That's still not a terrible amount.
Yeah, because, like, how many units has the Switch sold?
How many Switch units sold? 150 million units since February of 2025.
So, I mean, as of February 2025.
Yeah. If I look at
not since February 2025, because that. Oh boy.
As of.
Okay, yeah. So I mean,
if I look at total unit sales of, so now I'm looking at Nintendo.co.jp. Hardware, 150.86 million units. And this, and hilariously, this one says specifically as of December 31st, 2024.
Yeah.
And then software is 1,359.80 million units.
That's the most of their consoles, I think. Actually, Emerald, I think the Switch is like their most successfully selling console.
No. According to this, the Nintendo DS has 154.
Well, I meant like home consoles.
Oh, home consoles. Then,
Yeah.
okay, let me see. Wii U was 13
Oops.
million. The Wii was 101.
Yeah.
The GameCube was 20. The Nintendo 64 was 32.93. The Super Famicom, the Super Family Computer, the SNES was 49 million, and the NES was 61.9 million.
So yeah, it has been like one of their more successful endeavors.
Yeah.
Maybe not in comparison to like the DS, but that's just DS is ridiculously like it's the DS.
It was the DS. It was the console that people just fell head over heels for.
Yeah.
I know that the Switch is super like successful and whatnot, but I still maintain the thought process that like the DS still remains Nintendo's darling.
It really was, just because it was the console that really did successfully bridge the gap between the casual and the hardcore markets, like, completely. Yeah. It really did have something for everybody. And without, like, an asterisk next to that.
Yeah.
So, like... Yeah. I could kind of see, like, that dual screen thing idea being a thing, if only just so that, like, they can start doing, like, their DS library through, like, Switch Online or whatnot.
Yeah. It would be cool if that's the case, but I do agree with something that Ami brought up earlier in chat, which was the only downside is that you do run there being a risk of it being structurally not as secure.
Yeah, because that would be the issue with, like, a as-needed hinge rather than a permanent hinge. Yeah. Especially with something that is going to be as heavy as the Switch 2 tablet is likely to be. I mean, it's not going to be, like, herkin heavy as hell like the Lenovo Legion Go or whatever, but like it's probably gonna be heavier than the first Switch for sure.
Most likely.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess 70 million units is about half of what the Switch has sold over its lifetime. So I mean, if they're able to push that many within the first year of the console's life, sure, I guess I'll give it to them. Good job, Nintendo, but I don't know about that. Something about that just seems a little off to me.
Well, yeah, it's also comparing 150 like in the 8 years that it was sold in total.
Yeah.
In the 8 years, like in totality, versus the fact that they're saying that they're going to have 7 million units available at launch.
Yeah.
Like,
I just don't
not
know.
an impossibility, but it does feel like that's a far cry from, you know, all that. And now again, it's worth mentioning that, like, you know, that is not to say that there are 150 million people who own a Switch right this goddamn second. Like, that's not what they're saying. Because that's just how many units they've sold.
Because that's like all Switch units combined, like Switch Lite, Switch OLED. And like, I myself have probably purchased like at least 5 Switches.
I'm right there with you. A lot of them have been gifted.
Yeah. So, like, that's a number that's got to be kept in mind. Like, not, I mean, majority of people will have probably bought maybe 2, like a Switch and then either a Switch Lite or a Switch OLED. So, yeah, I guess like 70 million isn't too bad. It's just, I just don't know if they actually have that number. if they can actually push that number, like, within the first few months, because that's a big number.
Yeah. Like, yeah, let's ask ourselves this question: how many Switches were sold in the first? March 2017. In its first year, the hybrid handheld and stationary console sold 13.12 million units worldwide.
In the first year. And I was able to get my Switch first. I was able to get my Switch first year, so.
Day one.
Yeah. Mine wasn't day one, but mine was like in the first month.
Right. I was outside of a Fred Meyer at 3 o'clock in the morning with a bunch of other people who were loopy as shit.
I just got really lucky and went to a random Walmart that I was like, people don't usually go to this Walmart. I'll check it out. And they had one. I just asked, and they were like, yeah, here you go.
Thanks, mister.
Yep. So, about, like, the controllers themselves, the Joy-Cons, you know, the whole Hall Effect stick thing we talked about. What about the triggers? Are they going to be analog triggers? I don't know. I'm leaning towards no, just because as a portable system, analog triggers are, like, probably a common failure point. And also, the Switch didn't have analog triggers, and it still sold gangbusters. Would I like it if it did have analog triggers? Yeah, just because, like, there are games analog triggers are very useful for, like racing games, but it's one of those, it's not a necessity kind of thing. So, I'm not super expecting it. But also, like, will the old controllers work with the Switch too? Will I be able to take my Joy-Cons from my original Switch and use them on the Switch 2? Probably? I'm saying probably, definitely as a pair, because then it would just be a Pro controller, which I'm pretty sure the Pro controllers, you'll be able to just take those with you to the new Switch 2. You won't have to worry about buying a new Pro controller.
I don't. They're not going to be able to attach to anything unless there's like somehow some kind of like third party or first party attachment that's just like, or like, you know what? This isn't an impossibility now that I think about it. Because you know what I just thought of? I looked over at my shelf, and I saw that I have those docking charging stations.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They could literally just make those that also have data transfer to some point to where you could use those to, like, sync your your previous Joy-Cons to the new Switch, just by, like, kind of like how you can take current one, like, new ones and just dock them and go, and, like, pair, just like that.
See, what I'm thinking is, like, it would probably just it'd probably just be like, oh, you gotta use, like, the Joy-Con, like, controller shell thing that, nobody uses. We all have one.
Right.
Do we use it? I mean, I have my Zelda Joy-Cons slotted into mine right now, actually, but...
Sure.
Because I was playing Xenoblade Chronicles X earlier, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be one of those situations where it's just like, you can, but why would you?
It is a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, they would include it as an option, but like they would also just be like, why would you want to? Just use the new ones. But like all the Switch Online controllers, like the Super Nintendo controller, the N64 controller, those will all you'll be able to take them over to the new Switch for sure. And they're probably not going to offer like a new Pro controller unless like if they did, it would just be like, oh hey, the D-pad is slightly better.
It's better now.
But yeah, that aside, like, they're probably gonna expect you to mainly use the Joy-Cons this time around. Oh yeah, the GameCube controller adapter will still work, because gotta have it for Smash Brothers.
If they just decide to make it not work, lose fucking minds.
Putting a 2 on anything makes it better. That's right.
Hi, Brandon. Hello, my beloved Kiwi. We're currently talking about the future of the Nintendo Switch 2. What are your thoughts, Mr. Birdman? Fill us in on what knowledge you bring from the future. Oh my god, Brendan, hi!
Oh, hi, Brandon.
Hi, Kiwi. I feel like I see this guy once a year. He's a busy man. Once a year is generous. Twice a year, it's exceptional! It's Santa! That's the last thing I need. That gives them that not only gives them a reason to come infiltrate, but like, it's like, ah, shit! Ho ho ho! Here's my money, shithead. But yeah, I am fascinated to see specifically what will come about with the Direct in 2 days.
Yes.
What does it mean? What are some hidden detail? Like, okay, what's an interesting piece of tech, be it hardware or software, that would genuinely surprise you? And it can be a totally out of left field. What's something that the Switch 2 can do that would genuinely, like, cause you to be like, oh, okay? Because I feel like a lot of people, it was the whole mouse connectivity concept.
So yeah, that's the next thing. Like, the mouse, the mice, the meese.
Mises?
The Mises. Yeah, what games are gonna use those? Like, I'd imagine, like, first-person shooters for sure. Like, Metroid Prime 4 is probably gonna have, like, a mouse mode in it. I would hope.
Make me a sandwich.
They're bringing back Mario Paint. Ooh. I mean, I wouldn't hate that. Yeah.
How did we both come up with the exact same thought process?
I genuinely don't know. Like, the same word and everything.
The same inclination.
Yeah.
Which the keyboard attachment.
Yeah. All right. That was
Just
the other
excited
thing.
to see if the whole Wii U setup with the Switch/Switch 2 rumor is true. What rumor is that, Brendan? Elaborate.
So, yeah, a rumor I've seen is that, like, the mysterious button on the Joy-Con is, like, gonna be sort of like a cast button, and that, like, it would basically broadcast to the dock as opposed to having to be docked.
Huh.
And that they'd be able to use that to bring back some Wii U shenanigans. I don't know how much I want that.
Yeah, I'm in the mentality that I'm, like, trying to figure out how much I would use that personally.
Like, the only game I can think of that would benefit from that even a little bit would be the Wonderful 101. Because even the remastered version, even the remastered versions, it didn't really. Its option was to just let you turn on and off a second screen. It wasn't great.
Myself by imagining this conversation as a podcast that Samus has been listening to this entire time.
Hey. Samus has interesting taste in podcasts. See, now here's the thing. Like, DS game design works because the DS is a bespoke handheld. So, like, it can do things with the two screens that you can't really do with the Wii U. Now, the Wii U did some interesting things with its dual screens, I'll admit, but, like, nothing really as interesting as the DS. Because, like, with both screens being right there and aligned, that was the magic. Because you could have, oh, Sonic, he can run between both screens like that. That's cool. The most interesting the Wii U did with, like, its two screens thing is, like, shooting a ninja star from the gamepad to the TV screen. And it's just not that interesting.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
Cool if utilized, but not anything that's like drawing.
Because it's worth remembering that Donkey Kong Country Returns, or Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, is like one of the best Wii U games.
Right.
It didn't use that second screen at fucking all. Like, it existed. You could do it for off-TV play, and that was it. Like, the only Wii U game that has suffered from the transition to a not dual-screen system was Wonderful 101. And I think that's just because Platinum didn't try hard enough to make it not suck without two screens. I mean, Wonderful 101 Remaster doesn't suck. It's just awkward. Like,
it hurt. What happened?
It's just the fact that, like, oh, hey, we're going to put this game on the Switch, and we're going to just have you turn on a second very tiny screen for whenever you have to do the things in the original game that required two screens. Oh, you got the PC version? You have a two-monitor setup? Well, you want to use both monitors. Why would you want to do that? You can only use one monitor with this game. What's wrong with you?
But wait, no.
Platinum, what did I do wrong?
Wii U Luigi's Ghost Mansion was great, just saying.
No, I like the games on the Wii U that, like, made good use of the, like, second screen. I'm not saying there weren't any. I'm just saying there weren't enough.
And then you got weird ones like Star Fox Zero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that one was just so bizarre. That one was so weird.
Another plan.
I applaud them for wanting. I applaud them for coming up with an interesting concept, but man, it was weird. The idea that anytime a comm sequence was happening, you had to look down.
They tried.
They tried. There were certain times where it was interesting. Like, okay, your walker was on the inside of something, and now you have to go into a first-person's perspective. So you had to use the gamepad and use it that way. It's like, okay, that's an interesting idea. I think that there are other ways that you could do that sort of thing. Like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
a hacking game when you're in the walker, where you have to like daisy chain numbers or lines together, and that's how you get access to stuff, like stuff like that. Yeah, do that. I feel like there were just so many instances where there was an interesting idea, but they just did not do enough with it to actually warrant it being, or they didn't take it as far as it should have gone.
Yeah.
Now, and again, it's a tricky scenario to try to think about and theorize, because there's a lot of stuff.
Yes.
A lot of things in terms of trying to, sit down and elaborate upon and trying to think about all the different intricate ways that they could put stuff together. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. But, we're still in this strange moment where we're still trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
And thankfully, what with the release being imminent and us getting a direct in 2 days, we'll have to find out what happens. Thank you.
Also, just got 100% pickups. Woo!
Ooh!
Time to fight another one of these guys. He's gold!
Remember? I love gold! Oh, plot!
Ah! That's right! Oh, wait.
It is very unfortunate that the extent to which Nintendo was like, I guess, failed to sell people on what the Wii U was initially. Not that it was necessarily all compelling regardless, but if the system had a bit of a longer to linger, maybe we could have seen more fun stuff happen with that setup. Yeah.
Maybe.
I am of the mindset that kind of believes that calling it the Wii U was just such a strange choice.
It was a bad move.
Grandma, I want the Wii U. Oh, okay. Can I get the Wii 2? Well, there is no Wii 2, but there's the Wii. I'll buy it. Here's this. No, Grandma, I already had this. Dodge this.
Tasty.
Too bad, you're getting another Wii. Man.
Yeah.
God damn it.
The biggest issue with the Wii U was like their initial marketing. Just making it not clear to people what it was and what it wasn't. Whee!
I just would love it if she comes to a stop and her whole body just goes. Matt goes up at the top of the screen, and then like you see her fall down, and you just hear.
Have a nice day, sir.
Going up, ma'am. Mind the ceiling, ma'am.
Suave. Definitely a lot of people, Grandma included, thinking it was just an attachment and not its whole new console. Yeah.
That was the big sticking point, yeah.
That was the biggest thought process that people had. They thought it was just like, it's just a screen that allows you to have another screen. Jesus Christ, Samus.
I like this particular little elevator sequence because it's basically a recreation of the 2D sprite elevators. That's a neat detail. I like that. What the fuck?
Uploading data.
It appears your Metroid DNA has caused you to become a Metroid. Ordinarily, this would have happened immediately after the DNA transplant.
You know the point where you became a Metroid? It was when you became a Metroid. This is really the part where Heisenberg became the man who knocked.
Genes must have slowed down the process. They were the only tribe capable of controlling the Metroids.
Ah.
Though you possess their DNA, you are not a Koha. Your physical prowess suggests that you must also possess Makin DNA.
Personally speaking, I think the Toha were just a bunch of fucking nerds.
Metroids are programmed to identify enemies. This suggests one thing to me.
Did you know that Thoha in Mothroid means weenie?
So that's an interesting bit of lore drop. Metroids were specifically programmed to identify Malkin Chozo as enemies by the Thoha, which is interesting.
It is very probable that your metamorphosis occurred as a result of Ravenbeak's attack. His presence awakened the Metroid's killer instinct.
Well, fuck you, too.
Samus, I regret to inform you that just seeing Ravenbeak awakened your racist genes.
Then, your metamorphosis has accelerated. It can no longer be controlled.
Uh-oh.
You are now a Metroid, Samus Aran. Your very existence poses a grave threat to the galaxy.
Look, I haven't blown up that many planets.
Would you like me to bring up the receipt list?
No. Puts hands behind back, kicks feet like Luigi.
Aw, shucks.
You only use your new powers correctly.
What do you mean by that?
You have followed my instructions faithfully so far. Continue to do so. It's that simple. I consider your performance here on ZDR highly satisfactory. As I hoped, it has even awakened your Metroid powers. I was right to let you live through our first encounter. That one glimpse you showed told me everything. Submit and offer up your power. My plan is the only way to bring order to the galaxy. Fulfill your destiny, Samus. This is an order. Disobedience will not be tolerated.
Daddy!
All right, we gotta fight this fucking guy. We gotta fight Dad.
Fuck you, Dad! Ah!
Ravenbeak is not an easy fight. Look at him go. He's fucking all over the place. He's nuts.
He gives you little to no chances to breathe. Ay, ay.
So yeah, oh boy. Using storm missiles during this fight, definitely the way to go.
Daddy!
Yeah! So this shiny armor thing he's got going on, he actually has the Aeon abilities from Samus Returns. And he also has the Aeon abilities you have in this game. Whoop. You'll notice he's using that flash dash quite a bit. Oh
shit.
Yep. See, he's already drained like half of my health. This guy's nuts.
Not fun. Then the parry rewards you with resources.
Yep.
So what is that? What's that move where he shoots his beam up and it goes into a wide span?
So that is an AoE move that just does a lot of damage. Ooh!
Ooh! Fucking gut punch.
Oof. So yeah, if you're like caught in the umbrella of energy, you'll just take continuous damage.
My ribs.
Ooh. You can't actually parry that punch. I just keep jumping out of the way of it for some reason. Oh god! Oh god! No!
So he has Samus's abilities except for when she loses her power every other day.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, there we go. Sick.
Oh my god, this is so fucking cool.
Fuck you, I got wings now. I drank 15 Red Bulls.
Oh god. Also, this music, holy shit.
So yeah, this is a fan remix of the Ceres battle from Metroid Fusion. Oh god, I am not doing good.
Oh dear. Yeah, I just realized where you were health-wise. Hey.
Yep. I might die. Oh yeah, this Gatling gun thing. This is another Samus Returns ability.
Ooh.
Guys, how peak is my gaming? We're about to find out.
Careful! Careful! Relax.
If only I had the Crystal Flash. Just gonna have to make do with storm missiles. Woo!
Jesus Christ. I often find I game better on 1 HP.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Es Rosy Teres, il fidelity, es Rosy Teres.
None of that. Shame on you. That is the most metal goddamn thing I've ever seen a boss do.
It's so fucking cool.
Okay.
Rules of nature!
Okay, that thing is dangerous, but just use a power bomb to blow it up. Oh no! Oh no!
Oh boy! Ah!
Oh. I made it all the way to phase 3 on my first try. I'm fucking proud of that shit, man.
Let's do this.
Yeah, Ravenbeak's hard. The first time I played this game, it took me at least a dozen tries to beat him.
I remember. Many of us were there.
Yes. He is not an easy fight. Oh god.
Ow, fuck! You talking shit?
No,
Ow, Dad, stop!
I'm playing you up, man. There we go.
Get out of here with that. I'll never get over the fact that one of his attacks is effectively use a hyper beam,
Yeah.
but use it like a blade.
It's so fucking cool.
Ravenbeak throwing the void balls. That's my girl, go long. Ah, nothing like a good old game of catch with dad. Here. Oh shit.
Okay. Ooh. I probably should have tried to parry that. Oh boy. The thing is, he like gets in your face and he uses that melee move that you're really supposed to like flash step away from because he does it 3 times. He just doesn't give you room to do it.
No. Also, this particular song, or this section, sounds like it belongs in in Celeste.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
From my own experiences with Metroid bosses, they all tend to be pretty easy to moderate if you follow the strategy to beat them, so it's a nice change of pace where the Metroid boss actually fully tests your skills.
It's sort of like a Platinum Games boss found its way into a Metroid game, which is there a playlist of all the songs done for this mod? So, it's just a bunch of random fan remixes grabbed together, but if you go to the mods page on Game Banana, there is like a list. But they aren't like bespoke made specifically for this mod.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, this particular remix owns. I think this remix was also used for the Experiment 51 fight. Which actually reminds me, I forgot to post the Fendrana Drifts remix that was used when Arteria froze over.
Ah, damn.
I should remember to do that after this.
Bob my head.
Hey. Come on. You're not my real dad.
Yeah. I'm related to you by blood. Yeah, but not really.
Only because you put it in me. Well, could you post the banana links and we get all the songs? Yeah, eventually I'll do it.
Yeah.
This boss fight's design feels similar to the sort of things they do in Hollow Knight. Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh. Yeah, you want to blow up the sun as soon as you can because,
Oh, Jesus.
It creates a bunch of waves that do a lot of damage, and it's not great. Oh.
This.
Oh, speaking of, time to blow up the sun.
Unleash the power of the sun. I can't. I'm his daughter.
Oh. Okay, I think I'm gonna win this particular fight. Ow! And then I got punched. God, it's so visceral with like the hit stun and everything. It's so good though.
Shit! Ooh!
Good thing I went ball.
He just lay down.
That's what they call a pro strat.
Yeah.
Alright, here we go. Did he just try to fucking backhand me?
Yes.
This piece of shit!
Oh, that lined up perfect.
I know! Oh, the controller's rumbling.
Suck!
Woman literally too angry to
Too
die.
angry to die!
Nice. SR388, Zebus, and Faye, soon to be joined by Planet CDR.
Look
Also-
at this suit!
It fucking rules. There was somebody at PAX who had a cosplay
Yes.
of the suit, and it fucking owned. I love this suit design. Also, uh-oh. That is disgusting. He got combined with, like, all of the bosses from the game. Gross. So what was that, Red? Was she absorbing all the power from the ship? Yeah, her Metroid powers have gone so out of control that she is absorbing everything. No! I don't want that! Ravenbeak is now turbo dead.
Now for a calm adventure.
Uh-oh.
Fuck!
Well, before we can do that, oh my god, we have the Hyper Beam! Just like in Super Metroid. Sick.
Destroying anything in its path.
Also, the Metroid suit. The Metroid DNA inside Samus has surged completely out of control and transformed her into an organism that is essentially a Metroid. The thing I like about the Metroid suit is that its design borrows from, like, the Omega Metroid, like the evolutions of the Metroids you see in Metroid 2. Like, it's not just the, like, oh, the floating little jellyfish thing. Like, this is clearly supposed to be, like, Omega/Queen Metroid inspired. It's rad as shit. I don't know why the arm cannon has teeth, but it does. So, you know, there you go. And it's got a morph ball.
Fine. God. Oh.
Also, we don't have a health meter anymore because we have infinite health.
Oh.
We're a Metroid now.
Jesus.
And the Hyper Beam just destroys everything.
What, your gun can't bite people?
What a lame gun.
Yeah, GUN stands for Gnaw Upon People.
Wait a second.
Wait. Oh god. Oh god.
Wait,
Oh
hang
shit.
on.
Nope.
We still got the speed booster. I can make this work.
Ooh. Oh.
That looked rad as hell. Oh, not that way.
Gnaw upon Nathan. Fuck this stupid Baka planet. We're leaving. And we're never coming back. For a multitude of reasons.
Well, there won't be a back to come back to! Huh.
So, you drain the ship of its energy.
Oh no. This is bad, actually.
Hello.
Can I bum a ride? Mine's in the shop.
Leg it!
Kaboom!
Sploo. Get out of here, fucking bot. Get out of here. Stop. Hooray!
Metroid Dread. Thanks, Jose. So yeah, that game fucking owns.
Correct.
Like, oh my god, I love Metroid Dread so much. Like, genuinely, I think in terms of like the 2D Metroids, this is like the one that actually tops Super.
Right.
And like, that's a high goddamn bar to hit, but like, legitimately, like, I love just like the way the game feels, the amount of just stuff. It's so good. It's so good. It's been a while since the first person. I forget what was the deal with the X parasites. So no, Metroids were made to kill the X parasites. The X parasites were introduced in Fusion. And the idea was like they were native to SR388. The Chozo created the Metroids to hunt X parasites. The Metroids are immune to X parasites. The X parasites were not created by the Chozo. It's basically what you got is like backwards. So in Metroid Fusion, it's basically set up that, like, the X-Parasites are just, like, a single-minded, instinctual creature that exists just to absorb and propagate. Now, there are, like, some instances in Fusion where it's just like, oh, they can absorb knowledge. They can sort of plan. And this is illustrated by, like, there's an X-Parasite that absorbs a scientist and tries to actually blow up the entire space station by, like, overloading the reactor, which they would only be able to do if they actually had, like, the scientists, like, log in information and all that stuff, like, the knowledge on how to do that. And, like, when that happens, it's just like, wow, that's weird, but why would they do that? Because, like, it would blow up all the X on the space station, but maybe there are X elsewhere that they think you're a threat to or whatever. And then, like, later on, there are X parasites who, like, go into the Arctic habitat on the space station and then become, like, changed in a way so that they're now, like, cold infused, so that if Samus absorbs them instead of healing, they would actually harm her. They would, like, freeze her from within, because, like, now she's part Metroid, cold, bad. It's just like, wow, how do they do that? And they could also, like, process, like, computer data organically, sort of like how Samus can do that with her suit. Like, they actually absorb a suit upgrade that was intended for you, and you have to, like, fight an X-Parasite to get it back. But, like, it's never, like, expanded upon in, like, a way where it's just like, what if the X could, like, what if the X were more than just weird instinctual creatures that just eat everything? Like, they don't really go into that at all. Dread, towards the end here, kind of goes into that a little bit with that, with that Quiet Robax. who willingly lets itself get absorbed by Samus so that the Thoha DNA that it absorbed can, like, calm down the Metroid DNA in Samus's body. But it's never explained, it's not really explained why it does that, and it's also worth noting that that Quiet Robe X also reactivated all the Emmy to like, fight Samus again. But again, it's not made clear why they did that. It's just, it did that, and it also said, we are counting on you at the same time. But, like, is that because it absorbed, like, some of Quiet Robe's personality? Or something else? Like, it's not super clear, but, like, it's stuff to theorize about.
I would surmise that the reason why X-Robe reactivated the Emmy was because the powers that Samus had at that point in time were not sufficient enough to defeat Ravenbeak.
Yeah. But that implies that the X wanted to defeat Ravenbeak for whatever reason. Was it that particular X, and it absorbed Quiet Robe to, like, facilitate that? Or did, like, Quiet Robe's personality sort of, like, get absorbed by the X and sort of overwrite the... It's a whole bunch of stuff. We don't know, but it's interesting.
I am still holding out hope. 100% item collection, hell yeah. I am still holding out hope that whatever happens with Metroid 6, that elements of Quiet Robe have now effectively been absorbed into Samus via the X Parasite. And I still think it would be really fun to have it be a situation where, like, he can now speak to Samus, but it's like, you know, an internal sort of situation. I've talked about this scene that I've imagined in my head where, like, Samus is, say for example, she's like back in like some sort of Federation ship and she's like going through a debriefing and she's having it be a situation, and the camera is off to, like, she's facing the camera and the camera slowly is panning from left to right, and as her body wipes over across the screen, all of a sudden Quiet Robe appears behind her and is like giving her information about like what else is going on, that like the Federation is saying like, oh, we found this planet that has a certain research facility on it and we want you to go investigate. And Quiet Robe appears to her and it's just like, ah, yes, this was the original facility that we discovered, like where the X parasites originally came from, like, or something to that avail, like an interesting concept. Like, funny to see how that sort of thing is, because then it would be, it's a fun aspect to see how it would play off of that, because then you could have more of it would give us more opportunities to hear more of the Chizoan language, but that's just because I'm biased. But yeah, there's a lot of cool, intriguing stuff going forward. Also, what is this?
So these are a bunch of images you can unlock by like meeting certain like goals in the game, sort of like Chivos. And if you were wondering why that first Emmy you encounter is so damaged, here's why. Ravenbeak beat it up. And then you're wondering what Kraid is doing there? Well, the Mawkin just captured him.
Kidnapped him.
Yep. I like that one who's just like falling off into the lava, just like, ah!
Oh, fuck!
I forgot everything! Here we can see that experiment thing that we fought. Look at that. And here's how here's how the Mawkin got rid of all of the Thoha, or potentially got rid of like dissenters. You can see Ravenbeak up there just like presiding over this tribunal.
Very ritualistic thing going on here. It is very odd to not only have this be the game that like allows us to see living Chozo in ways that we've never seen before, but then we get like we get Toga Soha. Like we get there are that's a lot more skin than I think we are all ready for.
Yeah. Well, Look at this. Another thing.
Look at that. Good God.
How the fuck do you even move a crate? Good question.
Very carefully. Here's where they discover that one of their soldiers was infected by an X. And I just love that Chozo, like, looking back over his shoulder because of the face he has. He's just like,
Oh,
Meanwhile,
Captain, he's acting weird.
Ravenbeak don't even give anything even remotely resembling a fuck. Here we can see Ravenbeak telling Quiet Robe, hey, hack into those Emmys for me. Have them hunt down Samus. Here's a picture.
Oh, and there's a Galactic Federation icon up at the top there.
Yep. And then,
Conquest.
Conquest. And then here's an ending reward based on, well, basically all the games.
Uh-huh.
So Samus's particular Varia suit design there is based off of the one from Samus Returns, the 3DS game. We can see the various characters from the previous games. We see Mother Brain, Ridley, Kraid, looks like Dragon there as well, some Zabezian space pirates, a whole bunch of Metroids, and Emmy, Ravenbeak looking cool, and oh my god, is that Adam?
Adam!
Human-ass Adam in the corner there, yep. And then, for completing the game on various difficulties and within certain, like, time limits, you unlock special promo images based off other the 2D games in the series. So this was a Metroid Zero Mission 1. And here's a Metroid Samus Returns one where you can see her gravity suit design from that game, which had blue highlights. It was very cool looking.
Yeah.
There are also ones for Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, Metroid Other M, and I think also Metroid Dread if you beat the game on Dread difficulty, which, oh boy.
What's the difference?
So, first of all, I'm going to copy this into the empty slot real quick, because after you beat the game once, you can start a new game in that file. It'll just, like, overwrite the file.
Mm-hmm.
It'll still be completed, so you still get all the rewards. This game had multiple difficulty settings. In the original release, it only had normal and hard mode. Later on, patched in is rookie mode. Increases recovery from drops, reduces damages from bosses. Emmys are still one-hit kills, but in general, rookie mode is supposed to be easier.
Right.
Dread mode, you have to complete hard mode to unlock. Hard mode just increases all the damage enemies do. It's hard. But also, Dread mode makes every single hit you take a one-hit kill.
What the fuck?
Scrape an enemy and you die instantly.
Why?
Because fuck you.
Oh, okay.
Fuck you, that's why. There's also a boss rush mode that they added later on in the game, but you just fight all the bosses in the game. They limit your equipment to what you had during those boss fights, basically. So it's kind of like the gauntlet from Ocarina of Time 3D. But of course, there is a survival rush where you have to beat them all without dying, and then Dread Rush, which makes them all one-hit kills. As in, you die if you get hit by the bosses even once. I don't know why. Shit! I don't know why they did that. But also, you can just practice a bunch of different fights. As long as you've reached that fight in a run before. I haven't completed a boss rush yet, but you can, after you complete a boss rush, you can just practice. You can just do single boss, like, time attacks. Which is pretty cool. I like that. So yeah.
Task for this game, sadly, no.
Yeah.
Hey. This game rules.
This is, it's such a good game. I'm so glad we finally got Dread. And not only did we finally get Dread, but, like, Dread, like, lived up to its own like legacy. You know how fucking hard that is to do? Like, this game that people have been talking about, like, oh man, is it even real, for like 20 years. The only other game I can think of that took even remotely near that long to make, that had like a legendary reputation, Duke Nukem Forever. And Duke Nukem Forever sucks. Like, Duke Nukem Forever is so bad. So we finally finished a March of Metroid actually in March instead of May or June. Hey!
Shut up!
We did finish a prior March of Metroid in March at least once.
At least once. And last time
Yeah.
we finished it in April, not May, you psycho.
Yeah, man, I don't think the March of Metroid has bled into May.
Metroid.
5 years ago, let me shut up, Red.
But that doesn't count. That was beyond us. We don't remember what that was like. That was pandemic time.
Yeah. So yeah, if you have a Nintendo Switch, please buy this game.
No, we did go at least 2 weeks over when we did Metroid Prime 2 Echoes.
Yeah, I know that was one that we went over.
September of Metroid.
So yeah, the next March of Metroid next year is probably going to be Super Metroid and Metroid Prime 4, because Metroid Prime 4 will be out by then.
Hopefully.
Banana Link, please. I'll post it eventually. Give me a goddamn minute,
relax, Pika. Relax. We're still streaming. Also, you could look it up yourself.
Yeah. There's this magical thing. It's called Google. But yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stream next week, just because we are in the process of moving my stuff to a different room in the house, and I don't know how long that's going to take. Probably at least a couple weeks.
Also, quick question: was it the Metroid Dread throwback music mod?
It wasn't the throwback music mod, it was the other one. Alternative
Reimagined?
music mod. I think? Like, throwback music
Arcade
mod...
Redux?
No, not Arcade Redux.
Reimagined
It might have
OSX or OST remixes?
Yeah, I think so. I'll post the link in the server when we stop streaming.
I just was gonna do it now since I was already on Game Banana.
So, and it's unfortunately it's not like a list of links. It's like an image that has all the links in it, which kind of sucks. You gotta like type them in from that image, but it is basically a list of all the tracks. So yeah, I don't know how long it's going to be before we get back to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, but we will get back to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Don't worry.
Eventually.
It's going to happen. And then yeah, we got the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct in a couple days, so that's.
I'll very likely just be in voice chat.
Yep.
Just sitting in, if anybody wants to hop in and just watch a shift in the generational advancement of Nintendo consoles. Haha!
What time is that at? It's at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
I'll grab a hammer link for
Yeah.
people just so that they know specifically. 'Cause-
8 a.m. for 8 a.m. for people in Missouri like me and others. 9 a.m. for people on the East Coast. 7 a.m. if you live in Montana, I guess.
You know,
Yeah.
like you do.
It's at 6 a. It's at 6 a.m. in Pacific Standard Time. Pika.
Yeah, let me just. Yeah.
I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be either 8 or 9 for you.
6 a.m. PTD, Pacific Daylight Time,
Evacuate
Yeah.
immediately.
and this is from Nintendo.com.
Yep.
So 6 o'clock on that time frame. So in general chat, I'll say the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct.
We don't know how long the direct is. I'm guessing probably about 40 minutes, though.
No, not
Like-
PM. God damn you.
Like, I'm guessing, like, under an hour. I'm guessing 40 minutes, but I can't imagine it would be longer than an hour.
For
'Cause
now, maybe it's an hour exactly.
I don't think we're gonna see a lot of, like, big game reveals either. Like, they're gonna have, like, you know, oh, hey, here's footage of people playing the Switch 2, and it's like, it's gonna include, like, games that are soft announced, and they're probably also gonna say something like, yes, we are working on a new Zelda, yes, we are working on a new 3D Mario, yes, we are working on this, but I don't think we're gonna get any, like, big reveal games aside from, like, a launch title, which I don't think we're gonna get a Mario launch title, I don't think we're gonna get a Zelda launch title, and I think, if anything, like, Prime 4 might be a launch title.
Yeah.
And if they announce that Prime 4 is a launch title, that also means they're gonna announce when the Switch 2 is gonna launch.
Mm-hmm.
So
New Star Fox teaser, just you watch. Queen, don't do that. Don't do this to me.
but yeah,
Don't give me hope.
I'm interested to see. Are we gonna see more Switch Online consoles? Like, are they gonna add GameCube? Are they gonna add Wii? Who knows? Oh my god, I just realized what the mice on the Joy-Con would be excellent for. Wii pointer emulation.
Oh. Huh.
That would... yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine not having to constantly... well, I mean, they'd probably still have, like, some sort of recentering option, but... Well, we'll find out on Wednesday.
On Wednesday, indeed. But here we are, another successful March of Metroid in the bank.
I want to thank y'all for joining me. I hope y'all had a good time. We'll see you on the flip side.
Here we go! The future!